Hi, and this is Dana with Dana Digital Tutorials, and today I'm going to walk you through how to use mockups. We're going to go through the mockups that I have available in my Etsy store. If you're using a different mockup, you're going to see some of the layouts that'll be a little bit different, but there'll be a lot of similarities. You may have less layers, you may have more layers. They're definitely probably going to be named different, but there should be a lot of the same application in the layers. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our image in. I have put an image here, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to come up here to our image and we're going to double click it. And then we're going to open an image that we want to place in, and we're going to copy it. So select all, edit, copy, which is Command or Control C, and then we're going to close it, which is File, Close, or Command or Control W. I will be using a lot of the shortcuts as we go. So if I paste this in, you're going to see that I don't see a lot of my image, and that is because it's a lot larger than this smart object, we call it. So Command T, and you're going to start to see, Command or Control T, you're going to start to see some of my handles here where I can resize it, you know, like this, by dragging, grabbing and dragging. But if I want to see the whole thing, I need to hit Command or Control 0, and that's going to resize it so that I can see. Now if I grab from here and I drag, so click and drag while I'm holding it, it's just I'm gonna have to kind of figure out where it goes. But if I want a more precise placement, I'm gonna undo that place here or just delete it. If I do Command or Control and then the Shift and hit V, it's gonna automatically center my image. So obviously we only see part of it, so we're gonna do Command or Control T, and then Command 0 so we can see the whole thing. Now if instead of dragging from the corner, I drag from the edge, it's going to just bring it up. But if I want to do both the top and the bottom, and then the sides will come with it, if I hold Option and I drag, as long as I have under my view the snap selected, when it gets close, it's going to snap. And watch it, it's going to jump as I get in there. See how it jumps? That's not me being jumpy, that's it doing it. So it's brought it in. But if you've got a really large image that you're putting here, I like to go ahead and bump up the pixels by 2, because when you're sizing down a lot, your edges can be a little white. It's just a fuzzy edge. So if you come up here into your width before you hit enter, you may not see pixels. They have several different measurements that you can use. If you right click on that, you'll be able to click pixels. And we're just going to bump it by 2. So I'm going to get rid of that 4 and make it a 6. It's going to automatically use the width because I have the lock feature on. And then I'm just going to either hit enter or I'm going to hit OK, the check mark here. Now I've gotten rid of those little white edges. You don't have to. A lot of people aren't going to notice, but if you want to get rid of them, if they bother you, you can do that. So we're going to do Command or Control S for save and Command or Control W for close. And now you can see we have our new image here. It is perfectly aligned, and we can move to the next step. Now if you're setting this up for bulk tools, either using My Designs or using the bulk mockup tool or another website or program, you want to leave this as a white background. If we're going to do that, what we're going to do is double click here, and we're just going to either delete those layers or hide them. So, and then if you save it, you're going to see now you have a white background. I'm going to go ahead and go back in there. I'm just going to show our picture for our next step. I like to put an image in here so that I can see how it plays on the highlights and the shadows if I want to make some adjustments. But we'll get to that after we finish some other things. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our logo. And you'll notice also that I have colors here The green areas are areas you definitely want to look at and adjust because you don't want to leave a generic logo. But the yellow area is places that you can work on, but you need to be cautious to not move them around. And the red is a folder that you don't need to touch at all. If you want, you can shrink all of your folders by clicking the little arrow so you can just work on one folder at a time. So I'm going to expand this area, and I'm going to double click this just like before, and I'm going to place my image in here. So you can resize it if you want, but your image may be shorter or it may be more narrow. That is okay. You just want to fill as much of the area as you can. You're going to hit Command or Control S and Command or Control W, and it's going to close it for you, and your new image will be there. Now if you've got a dark background, so if we go down to the backgrounds here and we show this dark background, you can see that my logo is not going to be shown on this dark background. So I've built in a color layer here for you so that you can change the color, and you can just show it. I'm not sure what color I have in the download. It may be bright green, but you can change it to whatever you want. So if you double click this little area here, you can put in, if you know your color number here, you can put that in, or you can just drag around until you get something that's going to show up that you're pleased with. Now, if you have a logo that is more like this one here, that color layer isn't going to work the same. So let's go ahead and put that in. Command A or Control. If you hear me say just Command and you're on a PC, just know it's Control instead of Command. And then C, Command C and Command W for closing it. Now we're going to go ahead and go back in here. We're going to Command V to paste it. And then we're going to resize until we just kind of fill up our box. Now, if I leave that behind layer showing, it's going to show when I save and close. So I either want to delete this layer or I just want to hide it. And right now I'm just going to hide it. So save it and then close it. You're going to see, because I have more of a solid logo where the picture is directly behind the text, now I just have a splatter of color. So that's not going to work. If I want to change this to say all one color, because my background is just not working with it, I would want to take and click on this color layer and either hide it and just go with my standard color, or change this from normal to color. And now you can see that my image, you can still see it, but it's all one color. So if you wanted to make your image all one color, this would be the easy way to do it with the different varying shades. But you could also just hide your logo. If you don't want a logo on there, you can just hide it by clicking the little eyeball. We're going to leave it that way. So let's go ahead and work on this layer here. But before we do, let's go back in here and say, double click this, and I'm going to copy this color. It's called a hex number here. And I'm going to go down, I'm going to close that back up. It's just on my clipboard. And if I double click either one of these little, they're called smart objects, these are actually shapes, then I can actually paste that color right here, and I can change the color of my ribbon and my medallion. So it's already selected, by the way. I don't even have to go down and select it. So I've changed those, and now they kind of coordinate with my logo. But if I make them too dark, then you're not going to be able to see the text. So let's say I have it way down here because I have a lighter background and I want it to show up. If I do that, I'm going to need to change my text color. And I can do that by clicking, coming up here, and picking my text. Now, if I'm not in the text tool right here, I'm not going to see this. I'm going to see something different. So make sure you're in the text tool. T is a shortcut to get there. And now you can see that that number shows up really well. And I could do the same thing to the ribbon. So if I want that same color, I'm going to copy this new color, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it. And I'll have to come to this text, and I'll have to make that white as well. You can also, by the way, pick a color from in your cup area or your background. Anything that's visible, it will pick. But we'll do that on the background. I'll show you. This text layer is changeable, so you could make it say free if you wanted. If you need to change the size, you can do that by selecting the text that you want to change the size and coming up here. You can drag back and forth, or you can hit the drop down, and then we're going to hit enter. Now, if I were to just change the text size while I'm selected on the layer, but I'm not in it with the text area I want, it's going to change the text size of these words down here. So you want to be careful about doing that. So now that we have my banner the way I want, or again, I could hide it, so we'll hide it. We're going to go to our lids and our straws. So you can leave them the way they are, but if you want, you could hide the straws, or you could hide the lids. That gives you flexibility to be able to present the way you want. And then you're going to come down here to this yellow area and the cup adjustments. So if I accidentally grab this layer and I move it, you're going to see my highlights are going to move around. So I don't want to do that. And I just want to leave them where they're at and either turn them on or turn them off. So maybe I like this lighter layer because I can see her legs a little different. It is showing a gloss, so people viewing this are going to expect that. It makes it look real, because if I get rid of it, then you lose a lot of your brightness, but maybe that's a little too much. So we're going to click on this layer here, over here, that we have the eyeball on, and you can adjust the opacity down to what you like. I'm going to leave it up because that works really well for most images. Some people like that a lot of gloss, so I did put that in. I don't typically like that. And then we have our highlight. This versus the gloss is kind of like a reflection. And then the highlight area is just going to give you a lighter side of the cup. It helps with that 3D look. So you have one layer checked, or you could have two layers checked. And then the same thing with the shadow. It's going to give you a darker side just to kind of create that 3D look. So if we turned all of these off, you can see now my cup doesn't look very realistic. It just looks like an image pasted in. A lot of times if you get a Canva template, this is what you're going to have, but they are easier to use. So you just have to decide your own personal preference. I typically like to just have one of each on. I just put two in for you to be able to pick what you like. Now we're going to see this red folder here. I'll expand it, but these you just want to stay away from, because if you move these around, things aren't going to line up. You don't need to change anything. Even though your image file is here, it changes automatically when it's up here, so you don't need to mess with these. So we're going to get rid of those, and we are going to look at our backgrounds now. So as you will have all three backgrounds in here, but you also get a link to the background separately in case you delete one, you have a copy. So you can show these different layers by hiding and showing, or you can hide all three of the photographs, and you could go with a solid color. When you pick a solid color, you're probably going to want to pick a neutral color so that it doesn't compete with the cups, especially if you're doing these with a bulk mockup tool. But if you're doing them one by one and you really wanted to, you could double click and you could come over here and pick a coordinating color with the cup. So by doing this, I could color coordinate each image with a proper background. I typically use a bulk mockup, so I'm going to stick with one of these images that come with the cup and just go for that. This middle one here is probably going to work well with light or dark images, but it's all on your preference. Now, whatever background you have selected, and that also goes with your logos and everything. When you use a bulk mockup, whatever's visible is what's going to be in the final flattened image, which is where all of these layers, so if I flatten this, I go up to layer and I go to flatten, all of my layers became one, and I can no longer adjust this image or change what is visible, what is not, what the photograph is. So your mock-up, you don't want to flatten those layers, but when you use a bulk mock-up tool, it is going to create it like that with a flattened layer. So you want to make sure that you have what you want visible in this PSD file, and what you don't want visible, it's okay if it's in here as long as it's not visible. If you want to have 3 different mock-ups with each one of these backgrounds, then I would recommend you save 3 different PSDs, and each one has that background as a visible layer. And then when you use your bulk mockup tool, you'll be able to do all 3 at the same time. And then you'll get 3 copies of that photo in each mock-up with the different backgrounds. But I think that that's really it. If you have any questions about this particular mock-up, let me know. But let's go look at some other mock-ups. So I have a 12-ounce cup here, and you're going to see all of my layers are exactly the same. The only difference is the backgrounds are different. They're kid-friendly here. So if we come down here, we can see our different background layers for our kids. And we also have the solid. And then the other difference with this one is our cups are different. So if we go to these lids, you'll be able to hide all of the lids and then just show the one that you want. So if you wanted to have pink with this one, you can see it picks up with the pink down here really nice. You can do that. Again, you could save multiple copies of this PSD, one with a different cup layer showing, and run them all at the same time. I would not do one with each background and one with each color. That's going to give you 18 mock-ups, and you don't need that. Etsy won't even let you list. So just pick your favorite. You could just go with a neutral color here, which is going to work with all of the cups, or maybe pick a boy and a girl, have it bulk mock-up with those, and then just pick which one you're going to use in your listings. So we're going to close all these up. Once we've got this set up the way we want, we'll save it and we'll close it, and it'll be ready for us to use in our bulk mock-up program. So we do have this one last file here. This one is going to be a little bit different. I have shown that one layer that was hidden before, and it's up here. I have an extra logo layer right here that's used as a watermark. You can double click this and you can change the logo. So if I were to come over here and open this up, I can copy it and close it, and then I can paste it. I'll have to resize it. And because this isn't the exact dimensions, I don't necessarily always use that snap tool. I just kind of center it and leave a little room. I'm going to hide this back layer. I'm going to save, and we are having a problem. So apparently when I put these in Google Drive, it is downloading them with a different setup for this smart layer, so they'll probably be in a different program. But normally you would save this and you would close it, and then your layer smart mockup would change the logo actually here. I will fix that for you. So what about this last file? Let's go over here and let's look at this last file. So here we're looking at this image here, and if we come over here and we double click this watermark, well, that's what we were working on, and it won't let me save it. You can see here it's a PNG. Normally when you double click a smart object, which this will be fixed when you download it, it's a PSD, and I'm not sure why this went to PNG, but I'll fix that. It'll be a PSD, and then you'll be able to save it and close it, and it'll update right here. I do have this watermark at about 18. That's kind of good for you to use for a light image or a dark image, but you can lighten it or darken it by changing that opacity. And even though you feel like you can't see the logo here, if you zoom in, you can see that that logo is there. So if someone was to try to copy this image and upscale it, they're going to have some funky patterns on that image. So that's why I like to do that. But you also can just hide it like that. And when you update this one, it will automatically update this one. And like before, you can change the color or you can just hide this. And when you also update this photograph here by double clicking your image and you put your new image in there and you save it, it's going to update the cups down here. You have your same adjustment layers here, your same lids and straws here. And then the only difference is your background. Because we have a lot of text here, I have a very mild background. But you can change the color by double clicking. You can pick any color you want. As you see, if you go really dark, this is going to produce a very bright background. So I do suggest you stay, in these areas. If you click on hue right here, once you're in the right lightness, you can come over here and you can drag it back and forth to kind of give it a different shade to just set you apart a little bit. And then you would just hit OK, and you would save this and you would close it. This is Dana with Dana Digital Tutorials, helping you with your mockups. Have a great day.